I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 220. If you don't already know, I'm Keff Ciardello, coming to you on Tuesday, January 20th, and some new Bobcats just dropped. 18 transfer portal additions announced by Texas State on Tuesday morning. Just an avalanche of announcements from the Bobcats. 18 new Bobcats. Transfer portal chaos all across the country recently with 10,000 players entering the portal. Around 6,500 found a home. 18 of those 6,500 are coming to Texas State. We're going to talk all about that. This episode, Bobcats coming in, Bobcats going out. Season officially ending with the national championship. A new defensive line coach for Texas State hasn't been officially announced, but it seems like there's some signs out there that the Bobcats have a new D-line coach, especially when you look at these 18 transfer portal additions we're going to talk about for Texas State. It's 37 players for the 2026 class. If you go back and add the December signees, the JUCO and high school signees they got at the beginning of December. So a really big 2026 class for Texas State. That'll be the main part of this episode. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's G-A-L-I-N-D-O, GalindoCollective.com. A team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people planning and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at TGC_LLC, and check them out on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective on those platforms. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad. 3 seasons he's been partnering with Win Now or Get Bent. Cannot thank him enough. Go check them out. Once again, that's thegalindocollective.com. G-A-L-I-N-D-O, thegalindocollective.com. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. College football officially ended yesterday with the national championship. Indiana Hoosiers winning. Nice one for the little guy. If you ask me, that was a team that was in the cellar of college football for so long. We know the Hoosiers, they're well known for basketball. They're one of the worst football programs that was out there. For them to come on top of all of college football as the Kings, 16-0. I mean, unbelievable. What a turnaround Curt Cignetti did showing up there. And he did it with no 5 stars on that team. He did it with a lot of guys, a lot of diamonds in the rough, players that were overlooked. I mean, just from JMU alone, he brought 13 players over from JMU that were playing on this team. 8 of them were starters, a lot of other G5 players, a couple Bobcats in the mix on special teams, whether it's Dominic Ratcliffe playing on the D-line or Brendan Franke kicking the ball deep. Pretty cool stuff to see what the Indiana Hoosiers have done. And I really think it's a testament to where we're at in this wild landscape of college football and the chaos that everything ensues with it. I was just talking about the transfer portal. And now there's 10,000 players that are entering the transfer portal. But it creates an opportunity for an extremely motivated program with a fantastic coach can do amazing things. And that's what we saw happen for the Indiana Hoosiers. I think it's really going to upset the apple cart a little bit. It was almost a little prophetic that they beat the Miami Hurricanes, a team that was once known as probably the best team ever, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, which, you look at that roster, pretty remarkable. It was one of these programs one of these historic programs, a blue blood, if you will, and they were brought down by the Indiana Hoosiers. I just feel like it's pointing in the direction of the way college football is. It is chaos right now with NIL, transfer portal, rev share, everything that's going on. It's mass chaos across the board. But I really think it's because it's growing, it's evolving into something that will be better. Especially, it's learning how to what are we going to do with these player contracts? What's it going to look like when they do commit to a school? And how locked in are they into these contracts? I feel like all this type of stuff is growing pains for something really cool that's going to happen. I think we are going to see a lot more parity across college football. I'm not saying like you snap your fingers and Texas State's going to win a national championship, but I think there is just going to be more of a chance of success for programs like Texas State, for programs like the Indiana Hoosiers. I mean, being in the Big Ten, they have a great media deal already. They have a massive alumni base. They've talked about that a lot this week and everything. So it takes a lot to get to a national championship. But I feel like where it ripples down for somewhere like Texas State is it's just more opportunities for success. And when you see G5 players going to national championship and beating a bunch of 5-stars, I just think it goes to show you that there is a lot more parity. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about transfer portal stuff coming up, but there's even some Texas State players that were backups here that are now transferring to Florida State and Baylor, some of these ACC and Big 12 teams. And I just feel like the gap between those conferences specifically in the G5 is shrinking just a little bit. It's not, there's still definitely a gap there, but you can see it getting a little closer. Obviously, when you have the Big Ten, the SEC, they're almost in another stratosphere as far as the rest of the country is concerned. But it's interesting just to see the parity and how all of this has allowed other teams to find success. And that starts with the Indiana Hoosiers. I mean, what a season for them. It's hard not to root for that. Kurt Cignetti, Fernando, gosh, future Raider. Come on. The Raiders better not screw this up. Top pick for my Las Vegas Raiders. They have only taken one quarterback in the 21st century in the first round of the draft, and that was Jamarcus Russell. I need that to be rectified by getting the opposite of Jamarcus Russell, and that's Fernando Mendoza. At least off the field, it seems like the opposite. But I digress. It's a great season for the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't imagine anybody outside of Miami wasn't rooting for that. There's probably a lot of people in Miami that were rooting for that. The guy being from Miami, 2-star recruit, couldn't even get a walk-on the Miami Hurricanes, beats him in the national championship. You got to love this sport. Great sport. Yeah, I mentioned transfer portal chaos is over. I wonder if I was just talking about some of the growing pains as the sport evolves into more of a professional sport over the amateur status that it had, with players being allowed to be played and to leave whenever they want. How else are things going to change? I'm wondering if they end up starting the season a little earlier so that the transfer portal window isn't right in the face of the national championship. I've heard that be kicked around a little bit, where they might start like 3 weeks earlier at the beginning of August. I don't know how some traditionalists will feel about that. It's almost a little bit into summer instead of fall, instead of the beginning of September. But it makes me curious about that one. A new redshirt rule is being proposed. In fact, the coaches voted on it. College football coaches voted on it, and they like it. They like this new rule, where the old rule, or the current rule, I should say, because it hasn't been approved by the NCAA yet, the current rule is if you can play up to 4 games and still take a red shirt for that season. The rule that they are proposing is 9 games coming up. Might as well play the whole season, 9 games coming up. That if you play 9 games, you can still take a red shirt. Seems like that it's been voted on by the coaches, more likely going to be approved by the NCAA. An interesting rule. I don't fully understand the need for it. I think at this point, really, like with where we're at, with everything the way it is, NIL, all this stuff, transferring and all of that, I say just 5 for 5 across the board. Everybody gets 5 years. If one of those years you're injured, I mean that's the way it is. That's the way it happens. You don't get to extend this eligibility because it's gone too far. It's been too far for a while. There was that Miami tight end. It may have been last year. It was his last year. 9 years he played college football, 9 seasons, because he kept getting medical waivers and everything. I think we got to start putting a cap on it. 5 for 5. You get 5 years of eligibility. But new defensive line coach for Texas State hasn't been officially announced, but it feels like it's a foregone conclusion based on the Twitter tea leaves, if you will. Chris Gestorb. Gosh, I should have practiced that one beforehand. Chris Gestorb. Coach G. We're going to go with Coach G. New defensive line coach. He's coming over from McNeese. He was at Northwestern State before that. He was on staff for a little bit at Louisiana. He was a player at Louisiana early on. He started his coaching career for about a decade in Texas high school football, Central Texas and Houston to be specific. So this is a guy who definitely knows the area, the recruiting trails of Texas and what it takes to be a defensive line coach in this state. And he's bringing over a really good player too. He's one of the 18 transfer portal players coming over from McNeese. Pretty excited about him. I'm excited. He was one of the ones I didn't see coming. The player I'm gonna bring up here in a second. Not to step on it, but yeah, let's get there. Let's get to the 18 players for Texas State that they're bringing in out of the transfer portal. Announced on Tuesday morning. Just a whole bunch of announcements coming out from the Texas State account. 18 players out of the transfer portal. I've got them listed in no particular order, really just going offense to defense. But I put the guy at the top mainly because I want to talk about him at first. Shaker Reisig. Shaker Reisig is a quarterback originally out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He played 1 year at Boston College last season. Now he's coming to Texas State. He's really interesting to me. He's from the state from Oklahoma, as I was saying earlier, and he's got a bit of a I don't know, just a sliding doors moment with Bird Ficklin. If anybody remembers that name, there was another quarterback in the same class as Shaker. He was committed to Texas State for a long time in 2024. He was committed to Texas State, I think it was from June or July to December, all the way through the season. I remember it was all the way through the season because the Bobcats were holding on to this really good recruit, this quarterback out of Oklahoma, and he ended up flipping his commitment to Utah. Now, Shaker Reisig, going back a little bit further, Shaker was initially committed to Utah before Boston College. He flipped from Utah to Boston College, and then Bird Ficklin took that vacancy in Utah. Now, Shaker Reisig is coming back to Texas State, where Bird was committed. Was that confusing at all? That's a little bit of a sliding doors moment for these two quarterbacks, these two coming out of Oklahoma Preps high school football, these two quarterbacks, where they were kind of switching around teams, if you will, where they were committed. But Shaker Reisig, he's really interesting to me. This was a player that Texas State definitely had their eye on coming out of high school as well before he decided on Boston College. When you cut his tape, the first year at Boston College, didn't play a whole lot, didn't see the field a ton, no stats to really. He had some stats, but none to really remark on. What you got to look at is his film, his huddle tape going back to high school, and this looks like a quintessential G.J. Kinney quarterback. He's not the tallest guy; he's about 6 foot. He's shifty, mobile quarterback. I wouldn't call it a full-on dual threat. Maybe he would designate himself that. But he's shifty and he's a mobile quarterback, absolutely. He's got a bit of a sidearm throw to him as well, sharp arm. He can switch it up. He'll switch it up. He'll throw overhand, sidearm. He makes a lot of throws, though. When you watch his film and you look at what's there and you see the way he moves, how he extends plays, the way he makes decisions, it feels like a G.J. Kinney-style quarterback when you look at what he wants in his offense. When you look at somebody like a Brad Jackson, when you even go back to a Lindsey Scott Jr. at the Incarnate Word days, this is the type of quarterback that he wants. It's a younger guy. It was a true freshman season for him last year, but this is probably a project, a development project. I mean, he's got to come in knowing, okay, Brad Jackson's going to be the starter. I imagine he is anticipating waiting his turn a little bit, but this is definitely not just a guy to fill in, just to throw somebody in there because you need some depth. I feel like this is somebody that they look at to have a potential future. I mean, you just go check out his huddle if you have time. Shaker Reisig, I mean, he's got a great tape, really. When you look at that arm and you see him, it's definitely not just to fill in depth. Because you look at the quarterback situation, it's Brad Jackson, he's there. But then you have the 3 transfers that transferred in are already transferring out. They were one and done here at Texas State. So that leaves them with Gavin Parkhurst, who was a true freshman this past season, and then Easton Webb, who's going to be a true freshman next season. So it's not like they're bringing in a guy who's the most experienced. At first I was anticipating them bringing in somebody who's going to be an experienced backup in case Brad Jackson goes down or something happens and they need to trot somebody else out there. But this Shaker Isaac really seems like somebody that they had their eyes on before, that they were able to get at this time coming out of Boston College. But excited about that one. The only quarterback in this transfer portal class of the 18. Just one quarterback and just one wide receiver as well. Also an exciting player, Zachariah Sample. Zachariah Sample coming over from Arizona State, originally from Pickens, Mississippi. Seems like a speedster, punt returner, did some punt returning for Arizona State. Excited to see where they decide to put him. I know we have Bo Sparks coming back, returning punts. You have Jalen Jenkins coming back, returning kicks. Maybe they see this guy in that wide receiver room, because if that was one position that we saw, we haven't officially heard announcements that they left in the portal, but there was a handful of receivers not named Bo Sparks, Kriston Jr., and Kylan Evans. Seems like Kylan Evans is coming back. I think that's a great one to come back and to pair him with a lot of these other young guys as well. So Zachariah Sample in the bag, coming in from Arizona State. 3 offensive linemen in this transfer portal class. William Boone is coming over from North Carolina, started his career at Prairie View A&M, transferred to North Carolina, 6'6", 340 pounds, big guy, William Boone. Rashid Jackson, he's coming over from TCU, started his career at Incarnate Word, 6'7", 325, originally out of Columbus, Ohio. Jalen Early, interior offensive lineman, which I feel like was pretty necessary coming up for this season. They need more interior guys than these big tackles. Originally out of Duncanville, Texas, he's coming over from Missouri. He was committed to UNT at the beginning of January. Bobcats were able to flip him to come to Texas State. He was a 4-star coming out of high school, 4-star recruit, 6'4", 320 pounds. Massive guys across the board, these 3 guys that they're bringing in. They got a lot in December as well. So overall, let's see, what is that overall? 8 offensive linemen overall, with 5 coming in December. A couple JUCO guys. So really the Bobcats, they're losing Talik Lockett to the transfer portal. Don't know where he's going. Could be South Carolina, could be Rutgers. Apparently that's where he's visited. Now that Miami's season over, I'm half expecting that as well too. He's from that area. But we see Brock Riker, he's going off to Penn State. You have some other guys who graduated like Strawn. They're all done playing. So there's a lot of holes to fill on this offensive line. You've got one maybe I would say 2 starters coming back. Sully Burns, who started the whole season at that right tackle spot. And then at guard, you had Justin DeLeon. He's coming back as a starter. But otherwise, they have some starter needs to fill. They have some depth needs to fill. And they went out and got 8 offensive linemen. And all of them are huge. They're all just, that's what Jordan Shoemaker and G.J. Kinney, this is what they do. Jordan Shoemaker, the offensive line coach, this is what they do. They go out and get these big bodies. These guys, the ones that come to mind right off the bat is right when they got here, that first year with Caleb Johnson and Bray Walker, just massive individuals. You saw Lysander Moeo this year was a really big guy. Sully Burns himself is 6'8", 300-plus pounds. So big offensive linemen, that's what they like. Even on the interior, some guys you'd think look like a tackle by their body type, they put them on the inside. Sometimes they even stick them at center. So I love what they do with this offensive line. There was a need there, and they have filled it with 8 guys. 8 guys. A lot of them are ready to go as well. Just a handful of them are high school guys. But even some of the high school guys are already there practicing. They'll be there in the spring. We'll go over some of those guys after we finish these 18. Let's go to the defensive line, because that was it for offense in the transfer portal. See, that was the big difference between December and the transfer portal window in January. Is back in December, it was a lot of offense. And the transfer portal is a lot of defense. And why I think that is Texas State, you look at their offense, looking great, no problem, putting up a lot of points, got some really good players that are coming back. Not much of a need to get players to throw in right now. You can get some guys that you can develop and bring them along a little slower. The defensive side of the ball, on the other hand, with a new defensive coordinator, a lot of players that left, the numbers that they put up, some changes were needed, and they had to go get some guys who were ready to play now. That's why they went out and did that, and that's why the majority of this transfer portal class that they brought in is defensive guys. Let's see, let me count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of the 18 transfer portal players are on defense. The biggest group that got brought in, defensive line. 6 defensive linemen in this transfer portal class, starting with Philip Bradford, defensive end. I was kind of hinting at it earlier. The McNeese guy that Coach G brought in, the McNeese player. This is him here. Philip Bradford, defensive end, originally from Monroe, Louisiana, played 3 seasons at McNeese, had incredible stats. Don't know why I didn't put his stats here. He had a bunch of TFLs, handful of sacks, a couple interceptions, pick sixes even for this guy. He's coming in at 6'6", 280 pounds, just a real deal defensive end. 3 seasons at McNeese, like I was saying before following Coach G to Texas State. I'm pretty excited about Philip Bradford. I know he was all Southland Conference as well. This is an exciting player. I'm gonna name a bunch of P4 players and G5 FBS transfers that are coming in, and I know this one is an FCS player, but I look at his resume, I look at his size, and I look at his relationship with the new defensive line coach. I'm pretty excited about this one. There's 6 defensive linemen. I think he's the one I am the most excited about coming in. Next up, we have Mekhi Buchanan. Pretty sure I brought him up on the last episode. Defensive lineman coming over from Arizona, 6'3", 260. 6'4", 245 for Mekhi Buchanan, 6'4", 245. A bit of a surprise one today was Tay Woody, also coming in. He's transferring in from Texas Southern. No, my bad. ULM. Yeah, he was at Florida State. Okay. Yeah, I had my notes backwards on that one. Tay Woody, he's coming in from ULM. Started his career at Florida State. Then he transferred to UAB. Then he was played at ULM this past season. 6'4", 315 pounds. Chancellor Owens coming in from Northwestern State. From Arizona. Started his career at Northwestern State. 6'3", 260 for Chancellor Owens. Jason Patterson coming over from Texas Southern. 6'4", 235. Caleb James coming over from Arkansas, 6'4", 275. Linebackers, Javonte Mackey, you may remember that name from Arkansas State. Played 3 seasons at Arkansas State with 1 year at Memphis in the middle. A really big linebacker that could probably play defensive line as well. Be interested to see what they do with Javonte Mackey. But 2 linebackers from Arkansas State with Jordan Sample, originally out of Missouri City, Texas. He only played a lot of special teams at Arkansas State. Didn't get in there a lot, but might see more of an opportunity at Texas State, especially with this new defense. That when you look at how they're recruiting, the D linemen that I just named, most of those are their body types are defensive ends outside of Tay Woody at 6'4", 315. Otherwise, those defensive linemen are edge defensive end type players. So I'm somewhat anticipating more of a 3-down look maybe coming up. I imagine they're going to be multiple and switch it up quite a bit, but just based on the personnel, the way that they're bringing in 2 linebackers and getting a lot of defensive ends, and they're letting some of these interior D linemen leave, like Cam Washington, like Jordan Sanders, Kyron Borda, kind of tells me that there might be a bit of a scheme change. And to bring in 11 defensive linemen between the December signing day and the transfer portal, that tells me something is afoot, something is changing, possibly schematically. DBs, 3 DBs from the transfer portal. Michael Patterson coming over from SFA. Michael Patterson III. Dexter Ricks Jr. coming over from Liberty, and John Smith coming over from Colorado State. Don't know where they all play. Dexter Ricks and John Smith played corner where they were at, so I imagine that's where they're going to put him at. It's a bit of more of a need there, specifically with Ryan Nolan saying he's coming back to Texas State after entering the transfer portal. He's coming back. That was their second leading tackler last year at safety. That helps them out a lot at that safety position. So now the DB needs are more at corner because Kamari Terrell is off to Washington. We'll get to that. We'll get to where former Bobcats are ended up here in a sec. And a couple special teamers. Dylan Cunnin, a kicker, was 72% on his kicks at Toledo. Now he's coming to Texas State with Tyler Robles leaving. And Tom Flintoff, we brought up Tom earlier, out of the Australian Kicking Academy. So shout out to Tom Flintoff coming over as the punter. Looking at some of the 2026 players that were signed in early December that will be actually playing in spring ball, are actually on campus practicing with the team. 10 of them, 10 of the 19 that they signed in December already with the team a semester early, getting in there, practicing, developing earlier. I've seen that work out before with the guys like Brad Jackson, some other players getting in there. They just get there early. They're able to get more acclimated. The culture shock of going from high school to college is numbed by the time the season starts. It just helps them out a little bit more. Right off the bat, the 4-star signing that they got, LaKelian Graves out of Kilgore, he is here in the spring. That's a big one. I anticipate that they're looking for some way to use him. It seems like they keep listing him at receiver. I know he's a wide receiver DB, potentially the Travis Hunter of the Pac-12, according to GJ Kinney. It seems like they're looking at him more for that wide receiver position, but it'll be interesting to see what they do, because Texas State, they don't play true freshmen a whole lot. GJ Kinney specifically doesn't play. It's got a pretty special true freshman. We saw Chris Don play when he was a true freshman. Someone like Jalazen Landry at defensive end, he played as a true freshman. Brad Jackson, true freshman. They have to be a pretty special player. Otherwise, they like to take their time and develop these players for a little bit of time. But you imagine when you get the school's first 4-star, outright 4-star out of high school in LaKelian Graves, you want to utilize that weapon. So we'll see what they do. I am so excited for the spring, especially knowing that he's going to be out there. Hopefully I get to be out there. Come on, let us get some practice. We need eye reps. How else are we going to know what we're talking about here? Damian Crow, a wide receiver out of Richardson. He's also here in the spring. Blake McLean, that receiver out of Frisco Emerson. He is here in the spring. Jaden Luckett, he is the transfer out of Palomar College, San Marcos to San Marcos. Big offensive lineman. Eric Perkins, offensive lineman out of Marshall High School. Amari Smith, another JUCO transfer. That's 2 JUCO transfer offensive linemen that are practicing in the spring. Amari Smith is coming over from Northwest Mississippi Community College. He was at Mississippi State before that. Really good prospect, Amari Smith. Who else do we have here? Nathan Bowdry, defensive lineman, the 6'6" defensive lineman. Imagine he's a bit of a project, being from France, not playing a whole lot of football, but he's coming over from Garden City Community College. So he's at least a JUCO. He's got some collegiate experience. That's an interesting one, a French defensive lineman. Cameron Christian, the Kilgore defensive lineman, defensive tackle. His teammates with LaKelian Graves. He will be joining his high school teammate early in the spring. Cullen Thompson, one of the highest rated recruits in this class. Defensive lineman, more of an edge player coming out of Grand Oaks. He is here in the spring as well. Darius Davis, the San Marcos linebacker, local player, didn't have to go too far. He's already here in the spring. He was the one player actually practicing with the team leading into the bowl game that they played, the Armed Forces Bowl, which the Bobcats won. He was practicing with the team, so he's been there earlier than everybody else. Kind of the advantage being the local guy from out of San Marcos High School. Oh man, but yes, that's pretty much a wrap on the 2026 class as well. I mean, there is another signing day in early February that is coming up, but really this is pretty much it. I think I mentioned this at the top, 1 to 2 more maybe in early February. It used to be a much bigger to do, but not this year. The Bobcats are pretty much wrapped up for 2026. Some players and where they're ending up that are leaving Texas State. I don't have all the players on the transfer portal that, some of them it's unclear where they're going, but I'm just going to name some guys where we know are leaving Texas State and where they're going. Brock Riker, I mentioned, Penn State. Talik Lockett, we don't know quite yet. Seems like Rutgers or South Carolina. Holden Gerner, he's going to Pitt. Keldrick Luster's going to Ball State. Kamari Terrell, cornerback, entered the portal kind of late. He's off to Washington State. Jordan Sanders going to Florida State. Big one for him. Cam Washington is off to Baylor. Tyler Robles, the kicker, really good kicker. Great season for him. He's off to Washington. That's why it's a good thing if you heard the 18 transfer portal additions I just named. There's one kicker in there, so they're looking out for the kickers. But that's it. That's all I have so far. If you've seen some other ones, feel free to jump in the comments on YouTube. YouTube.com/WinNowOrGetBent. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. Feel free to let us know. The big one is Greg Burrell coming back out of the portal. Greg Burrell's back. Jalen Jenkins back. I mentioned it earlier. Ryan Nolan's back. It's good to get some of these players that entered the transfer portal that probably could have found a home elsewhere. They're going to be back for the Bobcats next season. Oh, but that'll just about do it. That's a wrap on this one. I was gonna tie some of these players into more of the roster where they shake up, but to be honest with you, there's a lot of new ones in this transfer portal class that I need to catch up on. You know, I'd already caught up and watched a lot of film on Shaker Reisig and some of these players that we knew were committed before today, but I don't have a good feel for a lot of them. But I just wanted to get you something out today after this big announcement. College football ends after the national championship. Wanted to get you some good content, but I'm going to do some roster breakdowns and really start putting these players where I think they're going to shake out, dive into some tape and some of these guys, and talk to some people that are in the know a little bit about what they think this class is going to look like as far as playing in 2026 for that Pac-12 debut. I feel like it was a really good 2026 class. You know, we've seen before G.J. Kinney with these transfer portal classes, specifically when he came in right off the bat, he had to get a massive transfer portal class. It was this huge turnaround for Texas State football in 2023. Over 50 transfers came in, and it was pretty shocking to see how big of a turnaround his first year was. And we've seen it the year after. It wasn't a big transfer portal dip, but not as big, but still big in 24. And then we saw last year it wasn't as big as it was the year prior, and this year it's even smaller than it was. When you get to a program and you need players that to play right away, feels like you need more transfers. Now they're able to sit back, bring in more high school prospects, players that they can develop a little bit longer because they have the starters not all the way set, but a lot of the positions already set that they don't have to worry about going and getting these transfer portal guys that they need to play right away. They can almost take their time, bide their time a little bit, and that's what we're seeing with this 2026 class. All right. That'll do it for this episode, though. We'll wrap it up. I'll get you another one real soon where we will, it's funny. Since Friday, I've been ready to record, but then it's like more are coming out, and it's been like, transfer portal window ended on Friday. It's been like, okay, it felt like all the announcements going to come on Saturday, or when was it? Tuesday was the day. How about that? The big day on Tuesday. But we'll put some of these players in the roster and almost do a depth chart prediction for the spring, if you will. I think that'll be a good way to do it. Maybe some mailbags, huh? How about a mailbag? Need some questions from y'all. How you're feeling about this recruiting class? Make sure you check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/WinNowOrGetBent. Check out our YouTube channel if you're not watching on YouTube, youtube.com/WinNowOrGetBent. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you. You just saw me point at you. I appreciate you tuning in, on all you video heads out there, you audio heads out there on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed so it downloads right away. Leave a little review if you can. Whatever you can do to help us out. It is greatly appreciated over here at Win Now or Get Bent. Check us out on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at WNOGB. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Big shout out to TGC LLC. Big shout out to my guy, the wizard, Zachary Webb, our great producer here at Win Now or Get Bent. And of course, thank you to you sickos. The 2025-2026 college football season officially done, officially in the books with the national championship done. It's nice that game ended last night. Texas State announces their class the following day. It puts a real nice punctuation on the season. It was a lot of fun getting to do this again, a 5th season that we've done this here at Win Now or Get Bent. 3rd with my guy, Zach, the wizard Zachary Webb. 3rd doing it on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube. A lot of you have been here since the beginning, so thank you so much for all of you for tuning in. Without you, we'd be shouting into the void. We wouldn't be doing this thing that we love to do, to talk about these Bobcats. It's an exciting time. 2026 is, man, I can't, 8 of the games coming up in 2026 are going to be in the state of Texas. I saw someone tweet that out recently. Sorry for not crediting whoever that was, but I saw that tweeted out and I was like, that is true. 8 games for the Bobcats are going to be in the state of Texas, and it's the first Pac-12 year. Oh, and by the way, they start the season versus the Longhorns. It's such a long way away, too. I don't know why I'm this excited about it. We're in the throes of basketball. 2 wins in a row for Tech State basketball. Good stuff there. A little bit, still some work to do, but, on the right track recently. Shout out to Tech State basketball. But all right, that'll do it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next time, win now or get bit.